Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. Political reflections. How do you defeat terrorism? Don't be terrorized, says Salman Rushdie. Israeli Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman announced his resignation on Wednesday in protest at a Gaza ceasefire that he called a capitulation to terror. Were I to stay in office, I would not be able to look southern residents in the eye, Lieberman told reporters. His resignation will go into effect 48 hours after he submits a formal letter to Netanyahu. That would leave Netanyahu with control of just 61 of the 120 seats in parliament, a year before Israel's next election. Raphael Aaron, if Avigdor Lieberman quits, Netanyahu finds himself will take the defense portfolio, a senior Likud party official says. In that case, Netanyahu would be Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, and Defense Minister. This is a photograph of Avigdor Lieberman when he visited Nairobi a while ago, and I was at that function. The point I was taken aback with was this rocket attack on the bus, where the soldiers had literally just stepped out and they strike the empty bus a few minutes later. And I think there was a powerful message in that attack. Sri Lanka's parliament passed a no-confidence motion against newly appointed Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. Rajapaksa's allies said they could not accept the vote, shouting, "This is illegal." Sri Lanka has been in turmoil since President Sirisena fired Prime Minister Wickremesinghe last month, replaced him with Rajapaksa, who is a pro-China strongman, and dissolved parliament. The no-confidence motion was taken to vote by voice on the floor, and it had a majority support. Now we're going to sign the papers. The leader of an opposition group bitterly opposed Rajapaksa told Reuters. Sri Lanka, of course, is the center of a proxy war between India and China. Sri Lanka, of course, gorged on Chinese debt and had to disgorge the Hambantota port to its creditor. We should watch events unfold with some interest. Senator Lindsey Graham called Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman unstable and unreliable. Prince Mohammed has been unstable and unreliable, and I don't see the situation getting fixed as long as he's around, Graham said. Asked if he was calling for a new crown prince to be named, Graham said it was up to Saudi Arabia to determine its leadership. I am of the opinion that the current leadership, the MBS leadership, has been a disaster for the relationship in the region, and I will find it very difficult to do business as usual with somebody who's been this unstable. Graham was skeptical of National Security Advisor John Bolton's comments Monday that people who've heard a recording of Khashoggi's murder don't believe it implicates President Mohammed. Pretty hard for me to believe that 15 people just on their own fly to Turkey and chop somebody up in a consulate and never tell anybody in Saudi Arabia about it. I'll be shocked if that turns out to be true, he said. 13th of November last year, I wrote a piece about the 32-year-old wannabe king. 15th of October this year, I was saying that it's being signalled loud and clear that the wannabe king is simply not tenable, and I was saying it was already unconscionable, I know. And then on the 12th of November, I wrote a piece about the oil price and how a crown prince had played his get-out-of-jail card. All those links on Rich Wrap-Up. Marco Rubio said in a statement that some Chinese officials were responsible for crimes against humanity. US lawmakers will introduce legislation urging a stronger response by the Trump administration to China's crackdown on minority Muslims, including possible sanctions against a regional Communist Party chief and other officials accused of human rights abuses. It's quite extraordinary, the silence from every other Muslim leader about this matter. What's Pence talking about? The US and China are already in a Cold War. Pence's ominous warning about an imminent all-out Cold War between the US and China is only newsworthy because it bluntly, albeit belatedly, states the obvious. And this is Andrew Coribico. The US is keenly aware that China's Belt and Road Initiative is the single greatest long-term threat to its global hegemonic position because of its potential to redirect trade routes away from the West and to the People's Republic, thereby catalyzing a chain reaction of full-spectrum paradigm changes that will in turn accelerate the emerging multipolar world order. The liberal globalist faction of the American permanent military intelligence and diplomatic bureaucracies, the deep state, struggle to respond to this challenge and are sometimes accused of seeking an accommodation with China to responsibly facilitate this global systemic transition. This has seen the US utilize tariffs, sanctions, info wars, hybrid wars, the lead from behind stratagem, and conventional military means, e.g. patrolling the South China Sea, to push back against China's gradual gains in a bid to retain and ultimately expand its hegemonic leadership. Seeing as how the US methods fall short of a direct kinetic response against China, a hot war, the present state of affairs between the two is the textbook definition of a Cold War, albeit one that occasionally flares up in third-party states or non-national domains, e.g. the financial and currency sectors, as a result of this multifaceted hybrid campaign. 15th of October, I wrote a piece called War is Coming. I listened to VP Pence and his Hudson Institute speech. And I was referencing the fact that the incident with the USS Decatur, where a Chinese warship came within 45 yards of the Decatur in the South China Sea, is surely a precursor, I said. Same time I was saying that the US Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer and Peter Navarro have operated with surgical precision and introduced an anti-dragon clause. 28th of August last year, I wrote a piece called China Rising, and I was saying that Xi Jinping's One Belt, One Road program binds the world to Beijing because all the roads and railways have but one destination, and that is China. 9th of July this year, I was writing about tariff wars and who blinks first. We're yet to find that out. Iran executed a gold dealer known as the Sultan of Coins in a warning to merchants not to exploit the country's financial troubles. Vahid Mazloumin was sentenced to death in October after being accused by Iranian authorities of contributing to price hikes by hoarding gold. His assistant Mohammad Esmail Qasemi was also hanged early Wednesday, state-run Iranian students' news agency said. He didn't hold a permit to trade gold and foreign currency, yet had formed the largest illegal network in that area, according to FARS. He instructed his team to corner the gold coin market to resell at higher prices, amassing about 2 tons of them. On Tuesday, Tehran said security forces had arrested about 130 illegal currency traders in recent days. That story about trying to corner the market took me back to the Nelson Bunker Hunt and Herbert Hunt brothers, who attempted to corner the silver markets in the late 1970s and early 1980s, at one stage holding the rights to more than half of the world's deliverable silver. During the Hunt's accumulation, the precious metal silver prices rose from $11 an ounce to nearly $50 in January 1980. Silver prices ultimately collapsed to below 11 2 months later, much of the fall occurring on a single day known as Silver Thursday due to changes made to exchange rules regarding the purchase of commodities on margin. President Trump, as I said before, is an avowed linguistic warfare specialist, and he's also embraced coercive sanction and financial warfare, and we see that in what's happening in Iran. Excellent documentary on Al Jazeera World, Who Killed Robert Kennedy. That took me back to Don DeLillo's Libra, which was about the assassination of JFK. There's always more to it. This is what history consists of. It is the sum total of the things they aren't telling us. Another quote from the same book, there is a world inside the world. And then a shrewd person would one day start a religion based on coincidence, if he hasn't already, and make a million. And secrets are an exalted state, almost a dream state. They're a way of arresting motion, stopping the world, so we can see ourselves in it.